If you're into lawn care, you've probably already made the biggest mistake of them all. I just don't get it. Sometimes I don't get it. How people continue to swoon over these big, vast expanses of lawns that are nothing but grass. If all you're focused on is the grass in your lawn, you have already made the biggest mistake you can make in lawn care. That's what we're going to talk about today on Budget Lawns, how you can have a much nicer lawn if you will just quit focusing on only the turf. Now, I'm not one of those people that's going to be on here saying, oh, you Americans and your grass lawns, why don't you go out and plant some native plants and flowers that are good for the bees and all that jazz? You know, it used to kind of drive me crazy, but not so much anymore. I actually get what they're talking about. And that's what we're really focusing on here in my new lawn in season 2. But I appreciate you joining me. Thank you for being here for another episode of Budget Lawns. If it's your first time here, I hope it's not your last. If you like this information, if you enjoy the content, give me a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, it kind of amazes me that a lot of these big YouTube channels are just nothing but lawns full of grass. There's nothing else to make them interesting or original, unique. Now, I kind of get it, because if it's just grass, it's an easier way for them to sell you more products for it and generate the views and subscribers. But I promise you, if you will just make the grass part of the equation and start focusing on some other things around your house, your grass won't have to be the star of the show. It can still be the main stage, but it doesn't have to be perfect for you to have the lawn you're looking for. So what else can you do in the yard that will not overshadow the grass, but just amplify it? Well, I've been doing some things in my yard that I think are going to make it stand out above the rest. Now, if you've been following along since we moved into the new house, this yard is less than ideal, and I wasn't crazy about it at all in the beginning.
That is where the house will be. So, do I have some concerns about the lawn before we even get started?
Yes, I do. Lots of slopes, a big hill. Really not the ideal lawn at all, especially for a grass freak that wants to have highly manicured turf. And I told you in the very beginning that I thought it presented an opportunity to do something different. I actually am kind of excited about this, because I won't have this just like blah, cookie cutter, flat, perfect, landscape lawn. It's going to have some contours. It's going to have some different elevations. It has a lot of potential and will have a lot of character. And I have found out that a lot of the downsides are now becoming upsides. They're turning out to be a blessing. If you're following our show here on Budget Lawns Tuesday nights with me and Joe from Wooderboy Productions, the Budget Wooder Show, you've been seeing some of the updates going on in the front yard. Come hang out with us every Tuesday evening, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, where we talk about lawns and life and all sorts of other things. But the folks on the show, if you're not keeping up with the community posts, they're getting a little bit more of an inside look at what's been going on in my front yard over the past close to 5 weeks now. We have completely changed the look of it, and we're still not finished. A major project that grew huge legs as the discussions went along. But I've been talking about how not only in the backyard, but also in the front yard, I was really limiting how much grass I was going to have to take care of. I'm finding it to be quite satisfying to watch a lot of the grass be ripped out and replaced with retaining walls, stone, natural stone steps, and things to make the space look more natural. Now, I know many of you don't have a lawn that suits something like this, but one way you can really amp up the visual appeal of your grass is add something natural to it. Something like a dry creek bed, which I installed in the backyard last year. Just some stones and rock or anything that looks like it just fits into the landscape can really make your grass pop. If you're not already focused on any landscaping beds, any flower beds, it's time to start carving some out. My favorite thing to do in my flower beds is not to go out and plant a bunch of annuals every year that will end up dying in the winter and I have to replace the next spring. I will be filling all my flower bed space with nothing but perennials. Some of my favorites are ajuga. I like some coneflowers. I like some artemisia. Some of these plants are ones that I'll be planting in my front yard and backyard sometime this season and next year, and there'll be more content coming out about the things that I like to plant. So be sure to follow along for that. And I'm also going to be planting some things that I've never planted before. Looking at doing some creeping jenny, some blue rug juniper, and a host of others that I've been doing research on. So that'll be fun to get to test my hand out at taking care of some other plants. But flower beds are key to making your lawn really stand out. Otherwise, it just looks like a football field or the outfield of a baseball field. I want mine to look like Augusta National. I want it to look like a golf course. One that's not just taking care of the grass, but the overall landscape. The whole enchilada, not just part of the equation, the full thing. So when you start getting into the flower beds, one way you can really make sure those look top-notch every single season is put down a fresh layer of mulch or pine straw every year. As things kind of start waking up those perennials from their winter sleep, you'll see all that dead material start falling off that you'll need to come in the spring and cut back, and that new growth will be coming out of the ground. It's always so cool to see that new growth responding to the warmer temperatures and the right conditions of spring, and then just watching it grow back up to full life over the course of the spring and into the summer. But if you're peeling off that old layer of mulch and getting rid of that dead material and adding some new mulch or pine straw, I'm telling you, it just makes it look amazing. Amazing. Now, I like to use a dark brown mulch. If I can, I like to get it in cedar because cedar is really good at keeping some skeeters away if you're in an area that is prone to lots of mosquitoes. But if I can, I'll try to source out some dark brown mulch, the shredded mulch in bulk. It's a lot cheaper, more affordable that way, and easier, in my opinion, to spread out. But some of you like pine straw, there's red mulch, there's chips, there's all sorts of options. It doesn't really matter what you're using, just use what you like. Use what you like, and I promise you, a fresh coat of that every single season in your flower beds will really stand out. You know, I talked about the dry creek bed that I carved out last year. I also like to, in my landscaping areas, this will be part of the future as well, I also like to work in some stones in those landscape areas that are strategically placed in flowers and plants grown around them to make it look more natural. Of course, when we get further down the road and all that stuff is in place, I plan on doing some solar landscape lighting as well that I think will really make them pop at night. But trust me, folks, get away from thinking that grass is the only way to make your lawn look nice. If you ask me, it makes it look worse if that's all it is. There's nothing worse than seeing a beautiful lawn with flower beds that are unkept, overtaken by nothing but weeds, shrubs that haven't been pruned, plants that haven't been deadheaded, all the, stuff that actually makes it look nasty as opposed to beautiful like you want it to. Grass is not the only way. Start thinking about some natural areas. Stones, dry creek beds, native plants. I'm not one of those people, but I'm going to go for that this time at the new house when I start planting. Think about some fresh mulch or pine straw, some stones again in your flower beds and landscape lighting. I promise you, you start thinking in that direction, your grass won't take up so much of your energy and drive you crazy. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode of Budget Lawns. A little different than what we've been talking about this spring. But I promise you, you got to start going in this direction. I think you'll find it a lot more enjoyable and satisfying to start taking care of and nurturing something else besides just your turf. Appreciate you being here as always, and we'll see you next time.